Hello to all the geek enthusiasts and nerd aficionados. Mess 5150 with Malice Corp, MaliceCast live here, season 2, episode 13. Thank you for coming back and supporting us. Welcome. We're here to talk all things nerd, and please join in the live stream, live chat to let us know what you think about the subjects that are going on. And another show happens in the live chat, and then we have the show of just the talking heads here. So on cast with me tonight, we have the cat that's roaming behind Super Hoovian Freak on
and its butthole.
Here all night. The camera was coming on, so she's like, "Excuse me, are you ready for my close-up?"
Let me show my arse.
We are now internet famous. Everybody for cat buttholes.
Exactly. That will be a tag on this video.
We're gonna get a whole new group of people.
Yeah, no kidding. On the cast, we have Super Hoovian Freak. How goes it?
Oh, you know what? It's not bad. I'm in a new place, but that's okay. We'll make it work.
Yeah, it's working. Also with us, with the wet hair, not standing outside in front of a garage, we have Igor joining us.
Coming to you live from indoors.
He paid his rent.
Just came out of a hurricane.
He was completely bone dry outside, and now he's wet inside. I'm very confused.
And also welcome Marley Ba and Red Meepa to the chat channel. Hello.
Hello.
Also joining us, we have Masonic Vader.
Good evening, everybody. And Battlefront, our Battle Mage Brewery.
A fantastic brewery company in San Diego. You have to check them out if you have never checked them out. Battle Mage Brewing Company. If not for the great beer, at least for the great hats and shirts that they sell as well. So,
and the idea that they actually bring your 6 beers on a wooden battle axe, that is badass.
And lastly, joining us, we have Mr. Big Papa Matt, Mr. Big Beanie Papa Matt.
Hey man, the more different adjectives and descriptors I can throw in. You guys know I love making my titles nice and long. So any other way I can get more descriptors in, I'm in there.
Absolutely.
That was not my noise right there, just so everybody knows.
Diablo.
Dude,
Yeah,
seriously, between the cat tag and that, this is going to be a long night.
It's going to be a fantastic one. It's going to go by so fast because we're
Recon right now is like, look at the way the show goes when I take a break.
Putting it down.
What's up, Bryden?
We also, yes, and Prydine, welcome to the chat room. As always, this podcast is brought to you by malice-corp.com. That is the website where we write about all things nerd. Please go check out the website, look at the different musings we have and meanderings and whatever of nerdom that we write about over there, and come back and join us every week live to talk about all things nerd here on Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Before we get into this, I have to apologize greatly for last week's cast because I went back and watched it and I realized we have a whole podcast network of casts going on here. We have another one getting added very, very soon. And I forgot to give 2 of the great casts a really, really big, significant plug to let people know that to go check out these great guys, which in fact, Big Papa Matt is part of 2 of the casts, which is Nerd Mosh Pit and Quest for 100. So we were celebrating a year anniversary of Malice Corp, and we didn't really get to dive into these two little casts. But that's why I want to get Big Papa Matt to tell us about why you should go check out the cast and give it a 5-star review on iTunes, because it's on iTunes and Stitcher and podcast.com.
Continue. I'm just going to bask in this moment a little while longer.
I felt so bad.
I'm enjoying it. You can. I love when people talk about it.
I rewatched over the cast and literally, I'm like, okay, got that person to say what they thought. Got that crap. I forgot to have Big Papa Matt talk about anything that he wanted to talk about. And this is a trending thing because we had a nerd fight last year where we were getting picks for our nerd fights, and I forgot to get Big Papa Matt's pick, and which made it even funnier when he was like, wait, what about me?
It is.
Thing happened.
It is not the first time I've been forgotten about on this show, but it's okay. It's okay.
And it won't be the last.
Because it won't be the last. Exactly.
But we'll give you this main thing because I'm going to have you start off because we always like opening up the show. We are going to be talking about nerd news today, mainly on Amazon's Lord of the Rings series, the Why the Last Man comic book getting a pilot, and some of the updates to why New Mutants got pushed back so far next year, as well as other stuff. Possibly have Mr. Masonic Vader go off on a WrestleMania nerd rant for
what? There's actually something happening this weekend? No.
Possibly. But until then, we always like talking about what we've been geeking out on, what nerdy stuff we've been doing. And to lead that off, I'm going to let Big Papa Matt tell us what he's been geeking out on and what nerdy stuff could be coming.
There's all kinds of great stuff right now out. I've been playing Far Cry 5 with our producer Jack Malice, he's pretty good at the game. He's not bad. He doesn't enjoy my run and gun style as much as I do. But that's just me. And then also Ni no Kuni 2 has been phenomenal. It's amazing. I think I talked about this last time I was on the show. Keep checking it out. Keep doing amazing things with it. And then go and see A Quiet Place. Phenomenal film. Excellent directing debut by Mr. Krasinski on that flick. It is fantastic. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, I didn't even catch it was Krasinski on the directing until I watched a piece on the Fantastic Four relaunch yelling that's great, and we need Krasinski playing Mr. Fantastic.
Oh, I would have loved that. I'm such a huge fan of Krasinski now because I didn't know he directed it until the end credits hit.
Awesome.
Yeah, I knew he directed, but didn't he co-write it too, or did he fully write it?
I don't know. I think it was just honestly, because it immediately had someone else's name for written. So if he was in there, it was as a co-writer. But it did a great job in the film. Did a great job directing the film. Great moments. Not the standard jump and try to scare you 100 times type of movie. It was intense, and I literally was sitting in that theater, air conditioned, cold outside, going, why am I sweating so much? Oh, because this movie is crazy tense.
Well, we know how much you hate trailers, and that was one of them where the trailer really, really frustrated you, was for The Quiet Place. Do you think that still took away from the movie being even better?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was a big scene that got shown in one of that second set of trailers that you knew it was coming. You knew it was going to happen, and kind of where they were at, where the movie was going, you're like, hold on, wait, there's still some trailer scenes that haven't shown up yet, so this stuff's going to happen. So kind of took a little bit of punch out of some of those moments.
And welcome Ad and Brad jumping in just to say hi. He has to head out to work, but jumped in to give us a big shout out. So
what up?
We miss you, buddy.
And he says Ready Player One was pretty good.
Don't you say that. You know better. Don't you do that to me.
Yeah, and Red Meat Paws agreeing. Oh, it's good.
No, I was going to say it. I was going to wait for later to tell you all the run away from Ready Player One.
Well, you've got Quest for 100 coming out here eventually.
Yeah, we just recorded actually earlier today. It will be out. We talked about Ready Player One. We spent a lot of time on that. So.
Mm-hmm.
I also talked about it on Nerd Mosh Pit, where I went a little wild on it as well. So you'll have plenty of me not liking Ready Player One.
Yeah,
you and Beacon got to keep your games up. Our esteemed director, co-director, whatever you and Beacon are here has been coming up with more and more ideas on like, if Beacon and Matt don't make it, they could watch this movie as punishment. Ooh, what about this one? And I'm telling you, he's finding some cruel and unusual ones.
It's getting weird. It's getting weird. It's helping us keep our game up though, because we're refusing to lose to these other movies.
If we go with his first suggestion, I'm supplying one of them. It's called The Ghostly Bus.
Yeah, and whatever movie we end up making you guys watch, I still think that you have to watch it live here on Twitch, and so people can try and get a copy to watch as well with you guys as we watch your pain and torture.
I'll Mystery Science Theater the hell out of something for y'all. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or would it be Clockwork Orange?
That's not a punish. That's a treat.
Yeah, and Red Meat Paw says, well, we're not going to get into Ready Player One, but there's a great, she's counteracting what you have to say.
That's fine, Red Meat Paw. I appreciate you. That's all right, but we'll move on.
Masonic Vader, what you been geeking out on?
Oh, well, there's this thing happening this weekend I might be talking about a little bit later. Little WrestleMania weekend. Yes, very much so. Also, though, been geeking out on some of the some of my older games. I got back into Fallout 4 yet again. For
Nice.
some reason, that thing just keeps dragging me in. I just restarted it up and just started all over again. And they've actually got this new feature on there now where it's called the Creation Club or something, where you could actually add some stuff in, monetary credits if you want to or whatnot. They're almost like little add-ons and everything, and it brings a little hype. There was actually one I added on that actually brought in the BFG from Doom. Someone created it,
Oh, nice.
so it's pretty fun, man. And they've got a lot of new suits in there, so it's found a niche in my heart again.
So is that on PS4?
Yeah, on PS4.
So they're adding the mods to PS4 is what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
they got a thing called a Creation Club. And
Okay, that's
you can
cool.
go in there and check it out. They have different, from what I understand, I think some of these are actually created by different, like, I guess, Fallout guilds or something that are big out there and stuff. I don't know. I'm not into that much, but they create these things, they approve them, they put them out there, different weapons, different type of paint jobs and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah, they did that for Fallout 4 and Skyrim.
Awesome.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Igor, what have you been geeking out on, Igor?
Oh, revisiting the SCP Foundation. Our dear sweet producer will know what I'm talking about. And I know at least one of our audience will be, but most of you probably wouldn't. They started way back in the day when we still amused ourselves with creepypastas. But this one just kind of took off. It hit the ground running somehow when this bunch of guys got together and started publishing the stuff they were writing to its own separate site, because they were deciding, dude, it's so cool to be writing these together. And many a Whovian, he said, looking at least one portion of the cast and one portion of the audience, will probably recognize stone statues, what might kill you if you're not looking directly at them. Interestingly enough, these guys actually had one of those 1 month before the Weeping Angels taught us not to blink.
The chat room is trying really hard to get us to say the name of the actor that we have said the name on almost every cast, and I'm trying to
Nick Cage.
refuse.
Yeah, we're
no,
talking about
no,
Nick Cage and the Ghost Rider flashback. So
one episode.
I
Okay,
am
well,
on this show. Are you kidding me right now? Did you really think Nick Cage was not going to get brought up?
one episode without saying his name.
Just don't look into a mirror and say it 2 more times.
Maybe we should hashtag him and see what happens.
It's Nick Cage live, Malice. Yeah, MaliceCast live. All things Nick Cage is what our cast is going to become here, and then we got Duran going on in the chat room now. So
I have this picture that Nick Cage just spends his time at home, like just reading, making sure everything's properly dusted. You know, just
He's definitely not fixing his hairline.
last person on the panel, Super Hoovian Freak. What have you been geeking out on?
Well, my friend recommended a new show to me, and I didn't want to give it a try because I really hated Glee. Even though they could sing, I really hated that show at the end. And there's a new show with Josh Radnor out that is called Rise, and it kind of gave me that same vibe. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do it because screw watching another high school Glee cast, blah, blah, blah. But this one's more of a drama. This one is they're doing it's a high school cast. It's based on a true story, so it's not made up. And it's a high school cast performing in like a small closed-minded town that plays Spring Awakening, which, if you guys don't know, is a play that was written during World War I or World War II, I can't remember, about teens living in a repressed society, basically discovering themselves and, you know, the things that go along with being a teenager. And being rebellious and things like that. And it's actually a really, really good play, really good musical. And it's actually really good. And I watched 4 episodes in a night and stayed up way too late on a work night to watch it. Really good.
After the incessant commercials on Hulu for Rise, I refused to watch it because they just battered me with that commercial. However, Spring Awakening, yes, amazing play. You will feel very horrible when you walk out watching it because it is a very tragic play, but it is fantastic. If anything, I recommend getting the soundtrack, the music, listening to the music, because the music is absolutely amazing for Spring Awakening. In fact, as always, you can go to malice-corp.com, click on one of our Amazon links, and order the soundtrack from Amazon. It helps us out. You get your stuff. We greatly appreciate it, but definitely go check out Spring Awakening, even if it's on Spotify or something like that, because it is on Spotify. I have it on Spotify, but it is a stunning soundtrack. Then, yeah, and
isn't that also what Mel Brooks based Springtime for Hitler off of, and the producers?
Probably. I mean, the book was banned in Russia. It was a Russian book, and it was banned. It was not allowed to be read. It was not, and it was this off-Broadway play that these guys just came across the book and ended up making a play about it. Nobody knew it was going to go anywhere or anything. It wasn't hyped up to be anything big, and it ended up winning. I think the year it came out, it was best. It wasn't best musical, but it was like best drama play or something like that of the year, and just took off. And majority of your members from Glee, Leah Michelle,
Jonathan Groff.
People, yeah, a lot of people came from the actual cast of Spring Awakening. So
yeah,
all jokes aside, that's really cool.
No,
I definitely didn't know that much detail about it.
I recommend it. But I am a huge Josh Radnor fan. I mean, I stuck with How I Met Your Mother. I stuck on the Ted Mosby train, and it's nice to see him out of that kind of goofy role. He's playing more serious. He's, I'm impressed by what he's doing with this role.
Yeah. And then myself personally, I was boysenberried out yesterday because I went to the Boysenberry Festival at Knott's Berry Farm. That was my geeking out with going foodie. And I felt like Violet Beauregard turning into a blueberry with the amount of boysenberry stuff that I ate yesterday. But it is worth going to 100%. There was so much boysenberry stuff that I brought stuff home last night because I was refusing to eat it there. So
yeah,
I could barely walk.
I was expecting you to look like Grimace.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for what we've been geeking out on. Let's get into the nerd news for this week. So the big one that's been talked about actually the last couple weeks, and want to get all your guys' thoughts and ideas because Hollywood's ran out of ideas, but if they can make something better, why not try? Amazon has gotten the rights. Last year they got the rights to do a Lord of the Rings television show. They spent $250 million to get the rights. And now all the stuff is coming out about what they're going to be doing with this show. And I wanted to talk about kind of the things that we know so far. One, this is going to be the most expensive television show ever made, being reported that it's going to be about $1 billion that they're looking to spend. We're getting 5 seasons at least. And it is looking like it is actually going to take place within the Lord of the Rings universe that Peter Jackson created in the movies, which it's a Hobbit film. Was what I was being told originally was that it was a precursor that was going to replace the Hobbit, but I guess not. I mean, what do you guys think on this? Do you think that the only way to make it good is to have a budget that large, or
no? Are you kidding?
No.
No.
The Ralph Bakshi films are still amazing.
Out of all the stuff that Joss Whedon has done, all the big budget Avenger movies, blah, 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 2 of the most fun things that he did with like no money was when he redid Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, filming it at his summer home. Fan-frickin-tastic. And Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. It was cheesy, but you remember it. You don't forget it. I can't remember half the crap that happened in Avengers and the movies he did with those big budgets. But I will forever remember those. So no, you do not need a good budget.
Yeah, but that's if they want to take it up to the scale of what we got from the movies, you do need a large budget, but
a bigger budget in that case. But
yeah,
well, I hate to say it, I think Peter Jackson ruined it for us all because I mean, you had Lord of the Rings trilogy come out, and from the very first one to the last one, people enjoyed it. They loved it. It was actually a really good adaptation. There's not too many complaints you could say about it. I'm sure there are, but all in all, when people watch those movies, they really enjoy them. And then they went back and did The Hobbit. And then The Hobbit kind of stunk. Everyone didn't like it as much. It was a lot of things about it. I think really what happened is Peter Jackson just ruined it. And at first, when I heard that Amazon had this and they're going to invest in it that much, I was like, okay, possibly. But then I just thought Hobbit, and I was like, oh, we're screwed. Game of Thrones season 9.
Yeah,
That's fair, but remember, The Hobbit got kind of X-Men 3'd, because that really was not Ratner's fault. He had functionally like 2 hours to finish the thing, proportionally, and that's kind of what Peter Jackson ended up with, because I don't think details ever really got out. I think they kept it very professionally quiet, but somehow Del Toro was attached, and then abruptly became not attached after a long time. And the movie was talked about being just killed, and for months until Jackson said, I'm doing it. So it was he wanted to save it, but it was a very last minute decision, and I think it kind of showed in that sense. So not great, yeah, but was it entirely his fault? I don't think so.
Yeah, but it also goes to show that, like, when you do really good work for the first 3 movies were just great. And it almost has like an episode 4, 5, 6 kind of effect, where no matter how good you think the newer Star Wars movies are, Rogue One, whatever, if you think they're great or not, they always get compared to the originals, and they never live up to the originals, regardless of what people think. They get relatively close, but and I think that's what we're going to run into with Lord of the Rings. I think they're going to I think they're really trying to glum on or try to capture some of that Game of Thrones fandom, because there's so much stuff going on with Game of Thrones. Like, it's inconsistent. You got to wait 2 years. You got to do this and that. The guy, there's just so much to it that people are just getting frustrated with it at this point, that they really want to see it, but at the same time, they're not going to see it for a couple of years. Hell, let's throw in Lord of the Rings and we'll be consistent, because we already got 5 years signed.
Yeah, well, that was actually one of the descriptions originally, was that they were looking to do, a Game of Thrones style Lord of the Rings television show, and of course, that changed, because Lord of the Rings isn't as violent as Game of Thrones and booby friendly.
Yeah, it needs to transition from BBC drama to, like, I guess, Peter Jackson action. But
yeah, but I mean, talking in the chat room, we got Jack Malice, our producer, making some good points that it's no longer about the storytelling; it's about the show, the feast for the eyes, is what he says, and that Red Meepaw agrees with it, that storytelling is a dying art form in Hollywood. I don't know about that 100%. I think you'll agree on this, Big Papa Matt, with the factor of, like, Guillermo with Shape of Water. Storytelling is still prominent in Hollywood. It just needs to get more attention than in the past, or than what's going on concurrently.
So not to derail us, but you took that comment out of context. That was directed towards Ready Player One, not Lord of the Rings stuff.
Sorry.
But no, you're right, and it totally works for both sections. I think Guillermo showed everybody what it means to be able to tell a good story, and he did it in a way where he didn't even have to use words. He did it based off emotions and body language. There's a deaf character in Shape of Water, right? And that character has a more emotion in her physical features and acting than most people can do with a million words at their disposal. As far as Lord of the Rings is concerned, I don't like that they signed on for 5 years. I don't like that they now have to fill a set amount of timepiece. Mm-hmm. I wish they would have come in and pitched, hey, this is the story we want to tell. Here's what we're going to do with it. And instead, they've signed them on for an amount of time where it's almost like, it's like that great band, that great garage punk band that signs a record deal for 3 years when they've only got one good song in them. And now we're going to get 3 years of crap out of them. And I hope that doesn't happen. I'm a huge fan of what Amazon has been doing with their TV shows. I think Transparent, I think they have a few others that I'm totally blanking on right now. I had a list of them earlier somewhere. They're gone. But
Man in High Castle,
all those fantastic as well. but they are doing a great job on Amazon with the movies they've been doing. They have a nice little indie flair, a great storytelling piece to them. They are not action sequence heavy, flashy tales that Amazon has been producing. They have been doing story, character driven items, and I'm okay with them taking over this, IP, because I think they can do something great with it as long as they're using the proper set pieces. They're not green screening. I hope that $1 billion is going to them traveling to New Zealand to have great set pieces, to have amazing characters, and to have great set design.
If not, give me the money so I'll travel to New Zealand and help them out.
Deal.
There you go.
A little bit for everybody.
Not knowing, because originally it was reported we thought that they were just going to do starting from The Hobbit over again, but now that they're saying that it's going to be intermixed with Peter Jackson's the universe that he created in the movies, does this worry anybody? Because this is the thoughts that I had on this. Is one of the biggest drawbacks of the Hobbit movie was all of a sudden, hey, new character played by I can't remember her name, but the elf chick that was just not in the books whatsoever.
Right.
Does that worry you? That are they? Do you think they'll go strictly off of Silmarillion and actually pull from what's there, or it's all going to be new characters and hey, they tied to this character and you never knew this character had a relationship? And
well, look what they're doing with Star Wars. I think that they're following that route. I think they know that we don't have to sit here in Hobbiton anymore or anything like that. I think, just like with Star Wars stuff going from Disney, we don't have to have a Skywalker saga. We can go and explore that world more.
We could, but man, I have never seen anything that held a candle to, based around it, that held a candle to Tolkien's work. Weirdly enough, except for the PlayStation game, and I mean the first one, not this god awful new loot crate fest.
You're talking about Shadows of Mordor?
Oh yeah, that was so good.
Yeah,
I say play it for the story.
Prydine says that the
Straight up.
characters will be new to us, but they will be from the book. So he's saying that
That's probably
it
true.
will be pulling from Silmarillion. Then,
how many people have actually read the Silmarillion that went and saw Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit?
It was almost as dry as Dune. I had to stop.
Yeah, I've skimmed it. I mean, this is coming from me, who takes it as a personal point of pride that I will pretty much read any book once. And
Prydine says he has, but we all knew Prydine would, but yeah.
Yeah. I struggled. and I love Dune too, don't get me wrong. Dune is not a bad book. It's not a bad series. It's just not something I can sit and absorb in one sitting like I can with other books,
I think if Amazon wants to make it happen, though, and this is, I think, where it gets a little complex when it comes to Lord of the Rings, is because you've got characters or species out there, like the elves and everything, who live for many, many years, versus a Star Wars universe where you might have those, but most of them are based off of humans and they have regular human lifespans, and then all the side characters are guys wearing big masks that could be living forever. Who knows? So I think if they pull it off, or they try to do it, I think within the first season they've got to interject some of the movie characters, like Liv Tyler, or like Orlando Bloom, or even Hugo, the guys who are in these areas where these guys live a long time, to at least start it off, to give some kind of meaning to, hey, this is during the same time, this is how this is spinning off, and then let them kind of do their own thing.
The reason I like where all your heads are at, and not just because of the optimism, because I will always respect that in the face of possible bad things happening. I don't want to say tragedy. I don't want to be melodramatic about it. But I think that the same reason why Alan Moore gripes about Watchmen being touched over and over and over again is why I'm concerned about the idea of anybody expanding Tolkien's stories. Because in Star Wars expanding that worked really well. It was set up to begin with to be a bunch of different stories. It was it was almost literally a, hey, look, what's that guy over there? Whoa, what are they doing? Literally. With Tolkien, it was there were tales referenced in the histories of, what was it, Bull Roarer took and all that. But the most part that we heard, the flashbacks that we heard in the story, the handful, And the main story was the story. Essentially, it was never built to expand. It was always built to be kind of a closed loop. So it could be done, but I'm doubtful.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of, oh, you're going to ruin it. I could probably still enjoy it. But I mean, will it expand things like Timothy Zahn did or like J.J. Abrams did? I don't know, man. I think that's a very, very, very high bar to set for anybody.
And once again, I gotta state, if you guys are not watching us live, you can always read this stuff later if you come back to Twitch, but you need to be here live to watch because it is two separate shows going on. There is a fantastic chat going on about the Dune books in the chat right now. So yeah, about who's read it, who hasn't. A lot of geek camaraderie going on. So.
And Jack dumping on Masonic Vader. It was just about people's feelings, man. Take it easy.
And Red Meat Pie, I'm sorry.
I love what you're talking about there, Igor. I really do. My thing is when you start getting too close to characters that are referenced, that are previously held, you have those people who hold a high nostalgia, right? And if you mess with them too much, you're immediately going to get the backlash on that. And why not explore something different? Why not have some fun with something else? Because yes, it's nice to come in with an installed fan base early, absolutely. But for me, it's just one of those things. Like let's go have some fun. Let's go exploring, and let's get some new characters to love. Right? Like let's maybe get some new ideas and movies to spin off on because we've built some great characters out of there.
Yeah, I agree on that. We don't leave out everybody that's watching this on YouTube later. If you are watching us on YouTube, please leave a comment below about what you think. If this is a good idea with Lord of the Rings, Amazon doing it, or if you think that this is going to be horribly awry, and we will comment back on the comments. But that's if you're not there, that's at youtube.com/c/MaliceCorp. Let's move on to.
Can I say one thing? No, wouldn't it be awesome if they did have an episode where Hobbit just went batshit crazy and just started slicing everyone to pieces? Come on now, that would be awesome.
What do they call
like
him?
a
Logan?
Jack the Ripper and Hobbit.
I'm in for a Jack the Ripper and Hobbiton. That
There
would be
you go.
phenomenal.
See, there's ways we can make this happen, guys.
He all of a sudden somebody at second breakfast come running in like, oh my god.
I didn't get second breakfast.
After watching all the dwarves take everything food wise from Bilbo in The Hobbit, I was surprised he didn't do that whole go psycho and everybody.
Didn't they do that in the books themselves? And I'm sure Pryden can back me up here. Isn't when Sauron went and took over the Hobbit village, didn't Merry and Pip lead the revolt against them and teach them how to fight back and retake their city back, right? So I mean, it's not batshit crazy, but it was little hobbits kicking ass.
It was more of a Red Dawn kind of situation that you're talking about right there, which is perfectly fine too. So
yeah,
cutting everyone's Achilles heels because that's as high as they reach.
They were spray painting Wolverines on a lot of things when Merry and Pippin took over. So they were spray painting took on everything. Just.
I don't know if I'm out of context, but Marley Boss says that sounds like a trauma movie.
I messed up.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next bit of news. So there's half the cast on here that will have no idea what we're talking about, and the other half that will talk about how great this is. Last year, we had an episode in season 1 that was talking about comic book TV shows, comic books that we'd like to see get made into TV shows, and my pick that I did a horrible injustice to because I didn't really pitch how great of a story this is. That's why I'm glad I have my two big comic book geeks on the cast with me tonight. Why the Last Man, written by Brian K. Vaughan, who also wrote Runaways, which is on Hulu, and he's writing Saga right now, which is another amazing comic book story. Got picked up by FX for a pilot to do the first to start the story. Hopefully, it gets picked up for longer. Why the Last Man is a fantastic story about think of. I don't want to ruin this again, but Last Man on Earth on Fox, but way better because it's not a comedy and it's not. But no, it's a guy that finds out he is the last man living on Earth, and don't let me ruin this. Big Papa Matt, Igor, go into why this is such a great story and why it's so good.
Occam's Razor. Like he said, it's just It's a story, for once, it isn't a zombie plague. No, plague sweeps the world, kills every male but our protagonist and the male monkey he finds.
And his monkey.
Every other male life form.
Everyone else with a Y chromosome.
Yeah, with Y chromosome. And no one knows why. And it's society picking back up.
Yeah, and it's just a great turn on. I love that they didn't go into a ton of explanation on that kind of stuff, especially early on. It was, what is our world going to be without those men? And you saw fantastic storytelling of what was being changed, what was being done around that. I just wish it wasn't picked up by FX. That's my only gripe with that. I haven't seen them really do a whole lot of great here lately. So
yeah, FX is
FX has Legion. I thought you liked Legion.
Yeah, it's all right. I was more trying to get in the conversation that time, so I was just trying to think of something else someone hadn't said.
It would have been nice to have been picked up by a better budget studio or channel or something like that.
We've got the showrunners are Michael Green, who was one of the showrunners for American Gods and Blade Runner, and helped Blade Runner 2049 get made, and Ada Mashaka Kroll, who's a showrunner for Jessica Jones.
Not bad.
Does that put you a little bit in like this? They might be in the right. No,
it's
still not for you. I know you don't like Jessica Jones, but I mean, Big Papa Matt.
If he was that good, he'd still be on those shows.
Well, I think he still is. It's just that he's,
well, you have to remember though. You're mentioning Jessica Jones, which I'm watching the second season. I've gotten about halfway through, and I am liking the season. I'm liking the episodes a lot better now. It's much better play in the second season. But the thing is, though, is you're being handcuffed to the station that he's on. FX is not going to let him do what you can do on Netflix or Hulu or anything like that. So,
or even or HBO or.
I mean, why isn't it as like graphic as some of your zombie books or other horror comics? I mean, it has some pretty awesome moments, and it can be very mature at times, but it can work within FX's rules. FX hasn't really given me any confidence that they're going to do anything great lately.
Other than Archer season 9 coming too.
Well, if they animate Y the Last Man and do an Archer styled animation to it, I would be 100% like, absolutely, let's go.
The comic book series, because I actually did read into it a little bit, is awesome. But it actually, as we were talking about everything, I think the reason why this is coming around is because of the way the world is coming as far as in different series and stuff. Like I don't know why, but Fallout 4 just comes in my head when I think Last Man on Earth. In a sense, it's just that same kind of like post-apocalyptic kind of feeling. One guy traveling around the world, blah blah blah. I think they're going to get away with it, which it's just unfortunate. Once again, it's FX. If it was anyone else but FX, I would easily see that 3 to 5 seasons, no question about it. But because of how TV channels are nowadays, if they don't get the super high ratings they're expecting, they cut them off on one season and that's it. We get nothing more.
Yeah, and that's the only thing with this right now. Is right now all it is the pilot ordered. It may never see the light of day because pilots are just
pilots.
Yeah, I hope it does because it is such a phenomenal story. It is a really, really good story that has an end piece as well because the story's been told for 10 years now. I think it's when it finished its run. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, but look at it this way: it didn't hit Netflix, but if it's TV stations, at least it didn't hit the big guy who would be the most likely to Dragon Ball Z it up. I'm making it you, HBO.
Yeah, well, it may have not hit Netflix. It may have not hit Netflix for the factor that FX has actually had the rights to do it for 4 years now. It's just they're finally getting it. I guess it's been a start again, off again, start again, off again, where they're finally like, okay, we got the people to actually do the show now. We're going ahead. We're doing a pilot for it. So if it had been out there, maybe Netflix or Amazon or one of these other new streaming services that are coming along would have picked it up to try and
I don't know. I think Amazon just blew its budget.
Oh,
you know what? I bet the Food Network would have probably did something faster.
See, the Food Network is the one who needs to make The Lord of the Rings.
I don't know.
The Food Network would make Guy Fieri like the star of it, and he would just go around looking for diners, drive-ins, and dives. And I'm in.
I'm in. It'd
And I
be
do beg
funnier
pardon.
if he had to try and eat the food while running from a zombie apocalypse.
Would Guy Fieri be Yorick, and he's just carrying around a sandwich instead of ampersand, the monkey?
I'm in.
Pardon me.
I'm in.
Pardon me, a sec, guys.
So
I know I missed Flood God popping in, so I just wanted to say good
What's
evening,
up,
buddy.
Flood God?
We talked about a lot of Lord of the Rings, and now we're talking about new comic book shows that actually aren't superhero. Ooh.
Well, if you're out of ideas in Hollywood, Pryden's got a good one for you. He says he wants to watch a Bob Ross superhero show.
Yeah.
Dude, do it like Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Wait,
You are
there-
set.
There you
are
go.
set.
Bob Ross starring in Greatest American Hero. He's already got the fro.
I know.
Well, and that's the thing that surprised me about it taking this long to get Why the Last Man. Everything that was 90s Vertigo comics is getting picked up now. I mean, or 90s, early 2000s. Preacher has its show. You've got them keep trying to get Constantine put in somewhere on TV, even if it is in Legends.
Fables almost did. That didn't
Fables
work so
almost
well.
did,
Yeah.
and then it became Once Upon a Time,
They've
unfortunately.
been after Sandman for a while too, right?
Yeah. So, the only one that I haven't seen get into works is 100 Bullets. So, which is another series that I think would be fantastic for television. So, but
Oh, that Dr. Smith. I saw you there, Brad, and I was like, Dr. Smith. I don't remember him in the title. And
Dr. Smith
realized,
is
no,
a
it's
woman now.
Lost in Space.
once again, we have a different conversation going on in the chat room, so it's fantastic and it's great. But they're talking about Lost in Space and Netflix. Jack Malice is bringing up that some of the Sanderson books would be a better series to start making over some of the stuff that we're getting. So over getting Lord of the Rings again, I'm assuming is what he's talking about. But yeah, let's get into the last story before we let Mr. Masonic Vader tell us why we should get back into WWE. Yeah, so we've been talking quite recently about how Fox keeps pushing movies back. They pushed Dark Phoenix back to next year. They pushed New Mutants back not once but twice, all the way back to December of next year. It's now came out that one of the reasons that New Mutants got pushed back was lots of reshoots going on. And a good news factor of that, everybody saw the trailer and they're like, this is great. It's a horror / mutant film. It looks fantastic. And lo and behold, when they started talking about it, they're like, what that trailer showed is not what the theme of the movie was at all. It was very much just like an X-Men type of movie, but that trailer looked completely different. Because that trailer got such huge hype, and that was actually the theme that the directors were originally going with, was like a horror style movie. They let them reshoot and get it back into that theme of a horror style film. So
Good.
that I'm happy about.
And his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Yeah. The bad news, apparently they were finally going to reveal in a post-credit scene that John Hamm was cast to be Mr. Sinister going forward for the Marvel Universe. However, that has been axed. They are not doing that. They don't know if John Hamm is still attached to Fox to be able to do that character later or not. But they instead have Antonio Banderas cast as a new villain, and they won't say who. So I want to know what your thoughts are on this. Do you think John Hamm would you like to see him as Mr. Sinister, or do you think that was a bad casting in the first place?
Do you folks mind if I go first? I have to.
I was hoping you would.
I have to be slightly pissed off for a second. So Fox, Sony, Disney, guys, the post credits scene. Stop. Stop. It's not special. It's not a surprise. When you're expecting it and it is telegraphed with a neon sign that's on fire with a terrified giraffe tied to it. It's not a shock. It's no twist. And frankly, it makes it about as when you hype it up that much, it makes it about as special as having your presents just sitting there by the front door every December, unwrapped and just looking at you, like, oh, can I play with it? No, you just have to look at it. Oh, okay, looks cool. Okay, see you, Mom. No, just put surprises in the movie again, please. John Hamm
And
as
scene.
Sinister, though, sounds awesome. And next.
Yes, John Hamm. I don't know about Mr. Sinister, but I'm all get John Hamm in more things, as many as possible.
Exactly.
I'm ready to watch
that's
it.
how I feel.
100%.
John
Yeah.
Hamm needs to be in more stuff. He is not given as much credit as he should.
No, he's not. Well, he's stuck in that role right now. He still hasn't broken free of the Don Draper, and it happens to a lot of actors sometimes breaking out of that role that they played. It happened to the cast of How I Met Your Mother. It happened to the cast of Friends for a long time. It took a lot of them. Jennifer Aniston was really the only one who went and did something for a long time. It took Courtney Cox a while to get there. It took Matt LeBlanc time to get there because the Joey spinoff was sad.
He still hasn't gotten there.
He's still-
Okay.
trying to
Hold
get
on. You were putting John Hamm in the same conversations as Matt LeBlanc. Are you kidding me right now?
No. I'm
John
saying
Hamm is crushing Hollywood right now as
I'm
anything and
saying
everything.
in the type of being typecasted. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
did you Baby Driver? He was. I can't
just
believe
watched
you're saying
Baby
this to
Driver
me. You're breaking my heart, Super. You're breaking my heart.
I love John Hamm. I'm talking about other characters that have had issues with getting typecasted. That's all.
I don't think he is. I really don't. And I'm
I
going
hope
to have this conversation with you offline because we.
I hope he's not. I hope he's not.
Now,
That's
I
just-
don't
Now
think
he
he is
isn't-
either because he does play different roles in everything he's in, but he doesn't get put into stuff as often as you. He's somebody.
But
that
is that him not getting placed into things, or is that not him taking crap projects?
that might be
it could be. It could be.
both probably.
So,
Because my thing is he's at a point right now where he gets to work with all of his friends now. He
Mhm.
can work with anybody he chooses,
yeah.
and why not have fun doing it, right? Like why go and do everything that you're being asked to do when you could just go have fun and be a badass?
Yeah. Well, I loved him in the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I thought he was fantastic.
Absolutely, he was phenomenal in that. He was also great as the asshole boyfriend in Bridesmaids. Like
I haven't seen him bad in
That
any.
was him.
a Baby
That's the thing is,
Driver.
I
He
haven't-
was phenomenal.
Oh,
in
I adore
He has,
that
a great,
Mirror.
he has a great haircut in Baby Driver.
Well, also in Black Mirror, he had a great, one of the shows in Black Mirror. He was phenomenal in that.
I should probably watch that.
You should watch just his episode. It's one of the best ones out there, acting wise.
Oh my god! Now they're talking about that there was a Joey spinoff in the chat room. Thank you.
There
Super.
was a Joey
Sorry.
spinoff. Yes, absolutely.
I know.
The fact
It
that
was-
John Hamm was mentioned in the same sentence.
Here, happy thoughts. Happy thoughts.
The man
happy
that was
thoughts.
part of the Last in Space movie, and what was it? Ed, the monkey pitching baseball.
Yes. Ed.
Hey,
Oh,
hey,
he's-
hey,
he's-
say what you will. Say what you
I
will
asked
about
that.
that Lost in Space movie, but it had Gary Oldman as Dr. Smith.
Gary Oldman was dope.
And even Gary Oldman couldn't save that movie.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was.
I didn't know
I
it was
love
him.
Gary Oldman.
But Pryden did bring the happy thoughts. He brought up the one, well, unintentionally brought up the one animated Dr. Seuss movie that would work perfectly if we had Green Eggs and Ham with John Hamm as Sam I Am. Green Eggs.
I need that so bad in my life, and I feel that John Hamm is just good enough to do that.
Well, do you think that they turned John Hamm down? Isn't he starring next year? Isn't he doing a Neil Gaiman movie? Do you think it was a
don't know.
scheduling conflict?
Well,
No,
let me
'cause he
IMDb
filmed
the
it.
hell out of that.
No, that's the thing is they filmed
Tell
the
me more.
scene.
Oh, they did.
Cut it out. They cut it out and decided to go Antonio Banderas as this villain, this new villain instead,
Ah,
which
I
they
don't
still
know
won't
it.
say who it is. I mean, going into the Marvel universe, is there somebody that you'd like to see Antonio Banderas play?
Alaska.
Puss in Boots.
Well, that's who he is. But I mean, is there a character you can think of from the X-Men?
Belasco.
I could see that. What about
From X-Men universe? I was going to say I want to see him in something crazy like Lobos or something like that, but
Lobo's
DC?
really
Yeah,
good.
Lobo would be awesome to see.
I just think he could play somebody crazy on that level after watching him, do the Baby Driver character. I think he has that kind of craziness in him to just overreact. Like, I think he'd be awesome. But as far as a Marvel character, Oof.
Well, you're talking John Hamm
man.
still, right? Because you, Baby Driver, I'm saying Antonio Banderas is who.
Oh,
got
Banderas.
put in
Oh
there.
no, I was thinking Ham still. That's my bad.
You're
Banderas.
fantasizing about Ham.
Now
Huh?
I was still had Ham on the mind. Because I'm over here. I'm looking at his IMDb, and I'm even more so thinking Sarah is as crazy as they come because not one of these movies is the same character as Don Draper. Like, not one of them is the same character. So,
Well, good. That's good.
yeah.
That's all I was pointing out was that I didn't want to see him get sucked into that,
He
and I
didn't
was
get
that's
Don
why I brought
Drapered.
up all those other characters. And I'm talking about
Yeah.
all the cast amendment, not just John Hamm, just
I
it's
get
a
you.
trend you see with long running TV shows. It's hard sometimes for those characters to break out and find new roles. Now I think he got lucky, but you see people struggle. You do.
John Hamm did not get lucky. He's amazing. He is America's hero.
He's good. I'm not going to take that away from him. Great. But I'm bringing up the point where you see it with long running TV shows where these characters, people don't know how to have them as anything but that character.
We now know.
I know what you're talking about, Sarah. No reason to. You're perfectly on point. Don't worry about that. It's good.
We now know that if we get a movie written and directed by Guillermo del Toro starring Nick Cage and John Hamm, Big Papa Matt will just explode.
The nerdgasm that would occur in the Bay Area would be a bigger on the Richter scale than anything they've seen out here.
Dude, Mess, just think about the sentence you just said. I would be running screaming
and
at
half
the
of
booth
this
myself.
yeah, half of this chat room or more of it was going to agree with me on that. So
No.
okay, take it easy over there, rebels.
Nothing wrong with Rebels. Hell of a lot better than anything Nick Cage has put out in the last 25 years. Wait, since Raising Arizona.
Raising Arizona's fantastic.
Yeah, that's the last thing he put out that was good.
No,
Hey.
not at all.
He still won an Academy Award for Lost in Vegas or Leaving Las
Leaving
Vegas,
Las
which
Vegas.
he did actually. That was once again
I'll give him that one. I'll give him that one.
another great story that makes you feel terrible after watching it, but the acting was phenomenal. I can't put anything against him in that. So
Thank you, Beacon. I agree. Thank you, B.
What'd he say?
Maku for president.
Oh God.
I'm looking forward to Mom and Dad. How about you, Big Papa?
Oh, I already saw it. It's fantastic.
Nice.
So
I'm so glad.
you guys are enjoying some of the comic book conversation that we're having here. Two of these guys are part of a cast that's, I don't know when it's coming out, but Comics for All.
No, nothing else for you to talk about on that. I'll be talking about it. I don't want it going too far.
Well, I wasn't going to go too far.
We've got surprises in store.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Pay no attention.
Yeah. See, this is why I don't talk about Big Papa Matt's other projects because
Well, this one isn't live yet, so you're totally burying the lead, bro.
I didn't say it was live, but there's a tweet out. There's a tweet from
Yes, Comics for All at All for Comics. Check us out. Follow us at All for Comics, the new podcast.
But you didn't respond. You didn't respond to my tweet to you guys.
No, I'm
so.
terrible at responding to tweets, so that's why I try to pawn it off. I try to pawn the Twitter off on somebody else. Like, you respond to these things.
I'm down.
Let's get into this last part because I want to see how nerdy and persuasive Mr. Masonic Vader can get people to come back to WWE because he keeps talking about how there wasn't much in nerd news this week because everybody's focusing on WrestleMania. So I was like, oh, now I need to see him pitch.
Also, check out Turbo Comics.
There you go.
Fantastic comic book shop, Turbo Comics.
Absolutely. And the great guys there, and Wizard Con is coming up in a couple months that they're part of too. So definitely check it out if you're in the Boise area.
So before you get it going real fast, Ken, I just want to say all of my media, it feels like on YouTube, everywhere, ESPN, even like everybody is going WrestleMania nuts. And honestly, when was the last time like there was like the greatest WrestleMania ever? Like, what's going to make this one so gnarly?
Well, I mean, so wrestling has always been considered nerdum. I mean, come on, man. I grew up in the 80s, and if you said you liked wrestling, then you were a nerd.
Well, you're watching 300-pound ballerinas. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's fast forward now to the new. I mean, and you could actually push it to the 90s where they had what they call the Attitude Era. That's when The Rock came about. I mean, how many movies have you watched with The Rock lately? It all started with wrestling. Stone Cold Steve Austin. The 90s is what really kind of saved wrestling in a sense. What's happened with wrestling lately is actually they became more in a sense, I hate to say it, legitimate, if you want to call it that. Now, we do know that they don't hit people like everything's set up. If you know wrestling, if you've watched it, hell, I've even trained a little bit for it. You kind of understand some of the things behind it. You do know that there's always some kind of an outcome. The difference is that they've actually changed it up now where they don't necessarily announce the outcomes. They will change at the last second. But then more importantly, the talent has gotten 100 or even 1,000,000 times better. I mean, for example, the big thing about this next this WrestleMania coming up is there's just a simple fact that Ronda Rousey, thank you, is going to be making her debut. And it's really cool to see this because about 3 years ago when she first got into it, when Roddy Piper was still alive, he gave her the okay to kind of use his Roddy kind of his persona. So now you'll be seeing her come out with shirts that look very similar to Hot Rod Roddy Piper shirts. And actually it's pretty cool. The actor, or not the actors, the stunt doubles, what I like to call them, because that's what they are. These guys are a hell of a lot more athletic. It is not your crap Hulk Hogan leg drop and everything like that. That was all about personality back then. Nowadays, you're seeing these guys doing craziness, doing 450 splashes off the top rope into the freaking barricades, whatever. They're more athletic. There's more to them now. They've got a lot of big. Go ahead.
I was gonna say everything I'm seeing is like they're not it's like they're trying to not let the big names retire. Like Undertaker's been talking about retiring forever, and he's retired, and now everything I'm seeing is that they're looking to find Undertaker and bring him back for WrestleMania this year. It's like, let the old man retire.
No. And see, there's some guys that just can't let it go. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And in fact, if you really want to kind of see where some of the paths go with some of these guys, feel free to watch that movie, The Wrestler. For anyone who's a diehard wrestler fan, man, that is exactly where about 75% of all your big names end up. It's a rarity to be able to find them moving into the future, but that's where WWE has actually gotten a lot better. They've gotten smart. They have their own channel. They actually have shows that you can't see without their channel, their app. One of them is called NXT. It's actually probably one of the reasons why wrestling is 10 times better, because it allows them to bring in talent from around the world. They got some of the top talent from Japan and then from other leagues, and they're using it as a farm system now. They have two main shows where Raw and SmackDown, they each have their own pay-per-views. Just bottom line, if you were a wrestling fan before, but you got tired of the same old, like Hulk Hogan has the belt for 3 years, the Iron Sheik or whatever, if you got tired of just the crap personalities, try to watch WrestleMania. You get it free for 30 days. If you get their app, check it out, see what happens, because you'll actually be really impressed, because you're seeing a lot of there's a lot of second and third star generation athletes now, or superstars that are in there. You've got Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte Flair, who's wrestling, Randy Orton, Natalia, who's part of the Hart Dynasty. There's a lot of like second and third generation now wrestlers getting into it, and you're starting to see the metamorphosis that's happening. And WWE has found a good way to not only make it their own, but use a farm system, and they actually are taking care of their old timers now. That was the other gripe about wrestling, is that they just didn't give a crap about anybody who brought them up, and now they're bringing them in, they're using them as trainers, they're doing a lot of things with their network, and they're actually trying to take better care of them in a sense. And there's one in particular guy that we should probably try to mention, because he's probably the biggest nerd out of all of us. His name's Xavier Woods in WWE. He actually has his own channel called Up, Down, Down. And if you ever want to get in some nerd chats and some video game stuff, that guy is definitely a guy to check out. He's really deep into it, and he's actually brought in a lot of the nerddom back into it in a sense.
Nerd. Yeah, he is really into video games and comic books and stuff like that.
Well,
so.
Mr. Masonic Vader, let me just put it this way. I haven't really watched since right before Goldust got Tourette's. But the New Day, I like them. They're including but not limited to Xavier. They are great guys. They are freaking hilarious, and I like where their heads are at.
It's gonna be very interesting with this one, just because, like I said, Ronda Rousey. This has been in the making for 3 years, and she's actually someone that can kick the crap out of you anyway. So you might as well bring her in and see what happens.
Yeah, but does it look worse that once she starts losing her fights in UFC, she goes to WWE? I mean, does that's
Well,
the way things are supposed to go?
absolutely. I guess you could call it that, but at the same time, think of it like this, man. If you've got she is, when it comes down to it, she's a legitimate athlete.
Mm-hmm.
She is a gold medal winner. She's actually going to be teaming up with Kurt Angle. So you got two gold medal winners there. So it's not like these guys don't know what they're doing, but it's part of the thing. It's like a next level for them. It's another way for them to continue some type of career. She's gone into acting a little bit to try to do something. This is something where she's actually going to have a humongous fan base. And it is actually going to probably pull some of the UFC fans over to check it out. I mean, in fact, WWE has done a lot of stuff recently with UFC. I mean, as people know, Brock Lesnar has been the champion now for a while. He's gone back and forth. They have Ronda Rousey now. There's a lot of actual UFC or mixed martial arts fighters, not only in WWE, but other venues as well. So they're just finding a new niche.
People are having fun with you, but you haven't swayed some in the chat room, it seems. So.
And, well, hey, if I may, I do apologize for butting in again, but if I may throw my 2 cents in, misread Meepaw. Understood, but I bet you still love Andre the Giant.
Yeah,
everybody loves Andre, right?
So I love that you brought up Goldust, though, just because one of my earliest memories, I was like probably 5. I came out to California to visit my grandfather and his girlfriend at the time. Her son and I, they gave us tickets to a WrestleMania event, and I watched Stone Cold Steve Austin beat down Goldust, and I remember this whole arena going nuts for it. It was crazy. So
I don't know.
Wrestling is a big part, man. I loved it when I grew up. A couple years back, I know they had one out here in the Bay Area where people are going crazy for it. It does bring something out in people that is a little animalistic, but more than anything, it's just a ton of fun. I think more than any of it, like I think what people have realized, like from when I was a kid and people started, telling you it was fake and it was wrong, and why would you like something that was fake, right? I think what's happened now is people have turned it into, this is still athleticism at one of its highest levels. And what it is more than anything is it's pure entertainment. And that's more than anything. Like I respect the hell out of it because they have, out of any athlete, and you can call them whatever they are, there is no more rigorous, brutal schedule than that of a WWE superstar or even underground wrestler, because it's 361 days a year. I mean, there is no time off. It's travel, it's sleep, it's travel, it's sleep, it's travel, it's sleep. That's all they do their whole life.
And you got to look at what they're actually doing too. I mean, what people don't realize is those mats have a huge spring on the bottom of it, but there's no padding on that. And so when you're watching these guys jump 20 feet in the air, miss and totally land on it, or go jump off into the pads that are below it, anytime they're doing any contact, they're destroying their body. And once again, that movie, The Wrestler, is a good example of what that does to the body. I mean, that's a movie where any wrestling fan that watches that's hardcore. That's what you don't see.
You don't even need to watch that movie. You just watch a time lapse of Mick Foley over his entire career, and you'll see how bad wrestling destroys somebody's body.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
He was the one that went all in. So,
yeah, their presentation's a hell of a lot better. They do a much better job with the matches. They're more athletic. They have done a phenomenal job with the progression of wrestling. Whereas, I mean, hell, they took out WCW. So obviously WWE is doing something right. But ultimately, any type of person who's watched it before and thinking about it, just watch it once and just see how 100 times better it is. And people could dump on me all they want inside the chat room, but I think it was sacrilegious to be talking about superheroes and comic books. And if you went to Comic-Con, you were a freaking total spaz and no one went to it. That was 20 years ago. And now we're doing a chat about it every week. And it's the norm. You're going out buying Thor t-shirts and X-Men. And dude, if you go to Walmart, there's a crap load of WWE stuff. It's stuff that it's huge and it's not going to go anywhere. So to me, wrestling has been a illegitimate son of nerdom because when you watch it, everyone called you a geek and a nerd. But now it's all coming
here's
out.
why, though. I think here's where that kind of comes from, right? Is because the jocks are into wrestling still. And that's kind of like the ultimate, kind of good versus evil in the nerdom world, if you will, right? But I think those worlds are clashing and combining more than ever. And you talk about the guy with the YouTube channel, like he's a perfect example of that. You know, him and his tag team partner. I don't know what do you call those?
The New
wrestling?
Day. The New Day.
New Day. Yeah.
New
Okay,
Day.
I've seen that. I've seen those guys, but I was going to call them a wrestling group.
Well, they kind of are. It's 3 of them, right?
It's a stable. They call it a stable.
A stable.
Nay,
Oh, you didn't know? You didn't know?
Oh man.
Okay, so I think Masonic Vader has given everybody a mission to go and watch WrestleMania this weekend and come back and tell him.
If he's
yay
the
or
pay for the
nay.
pay-per-view, I will. If not, sorry.
No.
Hey, like I said, if you want to check it out, they have it on their app where it's free for 30 days. And that includes all the pay-per-views, and if you are a fan of the 80s and stuff, you could actually go back and watch because they have all the pay-per-views from all the way back when. And since they've bought WCW and they have a lot of like NW. There's a lot of old stuff in there if you want to go back and wrestle on your freaking mattress again. So, but it's free for 30 days, so you can check it out for free.
Go check it out. I'm laughing so much at the chat right now because
I'm laughing at the chat. I missed a joke. I didn't see a joke. Pride.
no, Beacon's talking about how Xavier's his podcast channel is called Up Down Down, and how that's not the entire Contra code, and so that he can't get unlimited lives with only half a code.
Yeah, and Pryden was referencing back to the Macho Man, Slippin' Slim Jim. And then he asked me if referencing our D&D group, if I could cast Ray's Dead yet for the chat room.
to bring Macho Man back, yeah.
And
so yeah, they're having fun in the chat room. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's talk about where we can follow everybody. For once, because I want to give him as much screen time as possible for all the times that I've talked over him and not given him what he needs to say. I'm letting Big Papa Matt go first.
I don't know if I want your sympathy, firsts like this, but I'm gonna take.
Okay, so then we're moving on.
I'm taking them because I got 2 names on this Twitter handles right here, and the first one you guys can follow us at Nerd Mosh Pit. I'm the Big Papa Matt. You can follow me at the Big Papa Matt on malice-corp.com. I've got those podcasts, as you'll see, at Nerd Mosh Pit on Twitter, also at Quest for Movies. Beacon in the chat room also comes and talks movies. We are trying to watch 100 films in the theater in 1 year on an epic adventure and an epic quest to watch them all. And it has been a grind, but we're a fourth of the way through and we're getting there. Kenny and Nick, my partners in crime for Nerd Mosh Pit, we just got episode 29 out today. So go and check that out. I'll be posting it on all of our Twitter, everything like that. And then a new cast that, Wes was talking about earlier. And he was so excited for it because so am I. And I've got an amazing cast on this one as well with Mr. Igor Pete here, Max from Turbo Comics. So we were talking about Turbo Comics earlier. The guy is an amazing human being just in general, but also a great wealth of knowledge. And it is fun to hear him talk and have passion about what he does. Usually it's just me and Igor up here confusing all of you with our references on weird stuff like that, but we have a whole podcast dedicated to it. And we have a very cool special guest joining us as well, because we wanted to bring some extra fun to this podcast. We actually pulled someone out of the chat room, just like we did with Masonic Vader, pulled them into our group, and you will get to hear all of the lovely sounds of Marley Baugh in the Comics for All podcast coming out really, really soon. So check out Comics for All. It'll be out on iTunes and Stitcher very shortly within the week. We just got to get a landing page set up and done. Also, Son of Maku on Snapchat. You've also got me, Son of Maku, on PlayStation Network. You can follow me on Tumblr, Instagram at the Big Papa Matt, Facebook. You can I got plenty of other ones. You can hit me up on battle.net. Have I lost everybody yet? Is anybody still with us? I'm gonna go until everybody logs out. I'm taking them all the time.
did you say you were found on battle.net?
This is why we don't let Big Papa Matt go first, and we try and do him at the end.
This is why I get skipped often.
All right, well, sorry, dozed off there.
Nerd Mosh Pit, Quest for 100, all for comics. Go check it out.
Not Comics for All for comics. Yeah.
Comics for all at
Name
all
is
for
the
comics.
cat. I know that was my tweet. Was like, I'm confused. It's all for comics or comics for all. What is it?
I know. I saw it earlier. I just
But you
looked it
didn't
up.
respond to it.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to justify that with the response.
It's in
Three
home
Musketeers.
fun. Okay, Masonic
Damn it.
Vader, where can we follow you?
You can follow me on PlayStation Network at Masonic Vader. You could also follow me at Twitter and Instagram at Masonic Vader 71. Other than that, woo!
Where do we follow you, Igor?
Actually, I'm going to take a moment to do something a little different. As Big Papa Matt was kind enough to remind me, I suddenly turned into one of those comic book geeks. So I'm going to step back and say Belasco is the ruler of the dimension of Limbo. And you will find out how significant that is once you delve deeper into the New Mutants lore.
Mm-hmm. True. But then where can we follow you?
Oh, fine. PlayStation Network. Harris _Doubledon.
Nice.
DOUBLEDON. And the same name on twitch.tv whenever it is that I actually stream something.
Awesome. Super Hoovian Freak, where can we follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at SuperHoovianNet. You can follow me on Instagram too. I'm actually posting stuff over there now. It's not just cat pictures anymore. But
Cat butts.
Yeah, you got
I am
live
much
video
more-
of cat butts
You
now.
got live video of it.
I am
It's like
much
cat
more
porn.
active on Twitter.
Okay. As always, make sure to follow us at our website, malice-corp.com. That's where we do all of our writings and nerd ramblings. You can also follow us on Twitter at MaliceCast and at MaliceCorp. You can follow our producer who makes sure that all this runs on the ones and twos, Jack_Malice on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Mest_MaliceCorp or on Instagram at Mest5150. Make sure to follow our friends Turbo Comics on Twitter at Turbo Comics ID. And check out Battle Mage Brewing Company, fantastic brewing company out in San Diego. And come back every Friday for more podcasting about all things nerd. We appreciate you guys being here, and you guys keep nerding on.
Don't forget to click on our Amazon links at Nerd Moshpit, at Quest for Movies, at All for Comics.
That too.
Battle Mage Brewery.